top is all twisted. I imagine the effort that this mushroom has to do to get out of that sand. So it has to push somehow. And this one was twisted, the one I found. And at the base of the stipe, there are cordons very close to the ones that are on the underneath area of the head. It has only one peridium. No, what's the name of the hole? I don't remember what's the name of the ostiole, maybe. There is one, but it says in the books that maybe sometimes few could appear. And then when inside the pothole, there are the basidia, who is very crazy, and I thought that was so cool because the spores could be attached in different spots. I made a drawing from the book so you could see how crazy it is. Because usually we see basidium with the 4 stigmata on the top. This one could come out in any side of the basidia. So the basidia collapses and we only see the capillitium. There's some kind of hair-like structure. It's smooth, and the spores. That's all you see at the end. I made the micro of the spores. My photo is really bad, but in the book I got the drawing of it. It is ornamented, and in the book it said that it's almost sessile, which means that it doesn't really have a notorious apiculus. So I look at the book that I have here, and it kind of matches the Tulistoma simulans. Do I have any other photo?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. It's a little blurry, but couldn't do better than that. Those are that's the capillitium and some spores. The capillitium has really thick walls. Do I have one more maybe? Yeah, I couldn't do better with the spores, but you can see that there are some ornamentations there. And the shape of the spores was crazy. Some spores were like, you can see in this picture. Like a triangle, another one was like compressed on the sides, one was like kind of rounded. It was crazy. But yeah.
Just looking at your pictures again.
Yeah, thank you, yeah. The head is like 2 centimeters something, not too big.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do they ever get any bigger?
I don't know. The few that I found before, they were like this. Same idea.
Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any questions on that one? All right.
So I went to a new park, not too far from my house. It's like a preserve. And before I have learned, or I have heard that there are like 12 or 13 species of Tolypocladium. And when I went to this park, I found 2 spots not too far from each other. One has 12 heads. This one has 14 specimens, and in the other area it has 12. So I dug it out, and you can see that at the bottom of the one on the right side of the pen, there is the false truffle. And it was covered with debris, so I brought it home and I washed it with a brush because I wanted to really see how it really looked. Can you pass?
Okay.
Photo didn't come too good, but still,
No, that's a good picture.
It was so beautiful. It's covered with pyramids-like structures, and that's the real color, orange. And it has, I cut it to see inside, and it was marble, but not all the way through. It's only like in an outside area. And it has some cavities that were empty. The marble thing, which cannot be seen too good, is around below the orange pyramids. And I was thinking that maybe perhaps the false truffle is all exhausted from the parasites taking its nutrients. I don't really know. I wish I would know that.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Like all eaten
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, I want to make sure to clarify for people who aren't familiar
Yes.
with this. What we're looking at here is this is a truffle-like organism that's growing underground, and this long piece here is a separate mushroom that's parasitizing the truffle. So that's the truffle, which I've never actually seen. That's a great picture, Maricel. I've never seen one that's actually cleaned off of all the debris.
Yeah, I washed it and brushed it. Yeah. And
Can I ask a question? It's
yeah.
me, Mary. Are they edible truffles, the fancy truffles?
I don't know if this is edible, but it's too tiny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have no clue about that.
Oh.
And apparently, probably there were many because there were so many fruiting bodies. And
Okay.
That's what they say in the books. I don't really know that. It's called deer truffle.
Mike Castellano, who's a truffle expert from the Oregon State Corvallis, worked for the Federal Agriculture Department, I think. Anyway, he says all truffles are edible to some creature, not necessarily.
Oh, to people. Okay.
They're not. They're usually, that's why they might have a smell or some way of an animal or something that depends on them.
Okay. I had to tell you, when I cut the truffle, oh my goodness, the smell made me feel like I would like to eat it. It was delicious, but that was it. Then the smell disappeared. Yeah. Okay. So the way to identify the parasite was to make examine the spores. So this one has my goodness, it has a long ascus. I couldn't measure it. I couldn't do it. And it has 8 spores inside. It's called segmented spores. It has 8 spores connected one after the others in a long row. So this is what you see at the end when they are parted. Yeah, so this one is called longisegment whatever name because of that. Because it's divided in all these parts.
Maricel,
yeah.
So are these individual spores? This is not the asco.
No, this is not the asco. Those are huge spores that were connected. 8 of them were connected by the tips before they divided.
Those are segments of a spore, right?
Yeah.
Yep. The measurement of, I forget if it's the measurement of the segments or the measurement of when they're connected.
No, the segmented. They told me, somebody, nine naturalists, told me the measurement of the segmented spores.
So when they're still connected.
Oh, I don't know. Then I don't understand. But he agreed that it was longisegment.
Right, because there's another one that looks just like it, Tolypocladium capitatum or capitata.
Oh, he mentioned that one. Yeah.
Yeah, usually that one has a browner head.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Longisegmentum has a darker head. Usually.
And one has yellow, and one has yellow rhizomorphs, but I didn't see them.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And the head was black. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that too, Dave, because I think you made a comment a couple of years ago, a Mushroom Observer, about the difference between these, possibly, or at least this is the impression I was getting, the longisegmentum or whatever, that the cap or the head was more of a shiny black color.
Yeah, that's my understanding. And the ones that I've examined, I'm not even sure I've ever examined capitata or capitatum, because the spores always turned out to say it was longisegmentum, and they always had the dark heads too. I may have found capitatum a long time ago. I forget. Most of the old field guides have called them all capitatum.
Okay.
All right, cool.
I just wanted to mention a few things too. I was leading a walk for some students at Kane University at Sherman-Hoffman Sanctuary in Bernardsville. And one of the students found the parasite. Of course, he broke it off. So I went to where he found it and dug. And next time I have to wash it off, Maricel. But
Yes,
we did find the truffle.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's quite fascinating. When I did the scope work, it was also longisegmetatum.
Okay.
Very cool. All right, any more questions on that one? All right.
I'm not 100% sure that it's catinus. I never found this one before, but it seems close, but I am not, yeah, I don't know if it is or not. But it was pretty interesting. I was so surprised to find this little thing in the same park. I went in, and it's so incredible when you go to a park and you can find so many habitats, like little small areas that you walk few steps and then you are in another universe. It happened here. When I went to this place where I found this, it was like the pine barrens. It was so sandy and there were so few pine trees, but very young. And this thing was so exposed in a sunny spot. And there were many of them, maybe 15 of them. And this is how it looks at the beginning. The exterior surface looks like sandy, but it has a cover, but still it has a texture. You can see like grainy texture, kind of. And it expands until it becomes like a bowl. So this one is still young. You can see there how it grows. Doesn't have a significant part on the base, just some mycelium that is has sand attached to it, and it doesn't lose that texture on the outside. You see how white it is, the one on the right? So it's kind of whitish outside and that nice like tan color inside. So I did the micro, and yeah. I couldn't get a better photo. This is what makes up the outside. This not uniform aspect of some hypha with septa all over the place. And now the spores, I couldn't find free spores. All I found was the ones inside the ascus. So I measured many to have like the ones that look more mature. I used blue cotton blue to dye it, so I could, because they said that something happened at the tip of the ascus when you use that. Yeah. So you can see how long. Oh, this one too has very, very long asci. And it has the infertile paraphysis, these thin, long shapes that go in it, like palisades of them together with the asci.
Are you sure when you're saying on the tip of the ascus, are you sure you're not thinking of Meltzer's?
Yeah.
See, I was wrong. I was wrong. Yes, you're right. You're right. This is blue, cotton blue.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's still dyed it nicely though, so you can see what's going on there.
Mm-hmm. No, I didn't do the Meltzers. I forgot.
Yeah, you do the Meltzers to see if the tip of the ascus is amyloid, and sometimes that'll help in identification.
Oh, okay.
So how wide are these, Maricel? Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Oh,
very little. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I was surprised to see them with this weather because some nights are like freezing nights and then they're still there. They were fresh and nice.
Nice.
Do you still have any of them?
I dried them, yeah, I have them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you still had a fresh one, it's possible, especially those older ones that are completely open.
Yeah, I have the open.
You lie one down on a slide with the inside part facing down, the fertile surface. Sometimes they'll mature. It takes a few days sometimes with
Oh, okay.
with ascos, and you might get some spores to drop.
Okay.
All right, cool. Any more comments on this one? All right.
Okay. So I found this on maybe oak, was rotten, probably oak. And there were several fruiting bodies. The smell was so good, delicious, like a perfume. And the pores are white. They were not too big, but I thought they could be Ischnoderma because of the amount of them. And the tree was pretty big, so it has enough nutrients for. But I'm not familiar with Ischnoderma yet, so I don't know if it is or not. I put the KOH on and it immediately absorbed and became dark, like chocolate. Oh, I didn't get to this one to do the spores yet. I'm still working on it. Okay. Do I have more photos? I don't remember.
No.
No, that's it. Ah, okay. I messed up. I didn't work on the spores. Not yet. But I have it like to get the spore print on the slide.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It looks pretty white underneath.
Mm-hmm. It was very, yeah, very white.
Isn't Ischnoderma usually a creamier color?
Oh.
And smaller pores, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say smaller pores,
Oh, okay.
even
And-
though it's kind of a pinky white.
A velvety brown cap when it's young, and they're spongy to touch when they're young.
This is like spongy. Yeah.
Yeah, they get hard when they get old, but this doesn't
You-
really look like Ischnoderma resinosum, but
Okay.
maybe it's some other Ischnoderma.
Mm.
Ischnoderma resinosum also will bruise brown on the pore surface.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay.
Like really.
So you're sure that this was oak?
There were no pine trees in this area. It could be, yeah, the wood, yeah, it could be oak. I was looking. There was beech, oak. You can see the leaves underneath, oak and beech.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There was beech, oak, the sweet gum, birch. Mostly, that was it. Few kinds of oak. That's it.
Yeah, it reminds me of a thing I think that grows on conifers, Oligoporus or Postea fragilis.
No, it wasn't like that. No, that's soft.
Very soft, yeah.
No, this one wasn't as, it was kind of a spongy, but it was not as soft as that. Yeah, but it's okay.
No.
Thanks.
Sure.
Don't know. Okay, this one was on beach. And I was so delighted to find this. They were so small and they have like a hoof shape. And the cap is almost chocolate color. And I thought there was some kind of effect of the spores around them giving that color, but no. When I look at the microscope, it's so beautiful. It's dark chocolate, hypha with some white fibers mixed. And only the newest part is lighter, as you can see on the photos, ochre. And they grow, I don't know the right word for this when they grow like that. Like it's not separated. More are growing in the sides. But it looks like a hoof. Yeah, that's the right word.
Mm-hmm.
And in few bunches, there were few of them. And the pores are concolorous with the new growth. And did I put some spores there? Yeah, I put some spores there. They're kind of long.
What color was the context?
I didn't cut it. Silly me, I didn't do that. But the spores, I forgot to do that. But the spores were amyloid. I'm learning, I'm starting to practice that. So I put Melser and you can see how it changed. They really became dark. The next photo.
Sometimes I use the Overholtz key and I mean, it's an old key, but even if I come down to a different name, but you really have to cut it to see the color of the context using that key.
Okay. No, I am not sure if I did. Let me check my notes because I did so many polypores that I don't know. Because there was one that I cut and it was perennial. Let me see if that's the one. Hoofy. Oh yeah, I cut it. The flesh is marbled. It's perennial. So I saw something really cool. The old pore surface was darker and the new flesh that fill up the spaces between the pores was lighter. And then the new layer of pores. Oh yeah, I did look, I'm so sorry. And I was saying here that the aspect of the caps reminds me of cliffs or rock formations that are eroded.
And you had a name.
Yeah.
I hope you save it so we can.
I did.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I did. And what's his name? This guy, this tall guy with the long white hair, Garrett.
Oh yeah, Garrett Taylor.
Yeah, Garrett, he
Garrett
gave me
Taylor.
that name. He gave me that name. So it looks like a Datroniella species, but I am not 100% sure that it's scutellata.
What name did he say?
Datroniella scutellata.
You can see it right here, Dorothy. See it?
Oh, Datroniella. Okay.
Because many other species of Datroniella, they are almost flat. Datroniella means like little Datronia. Yeah, it looks close to that species. I mean, pardon, to that genus. Sorry. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Thanks, Marcel.
Thank you.
Okay, who wanted to go next? Actually, let me come out of here for a minute. Wanted to look at the chat. Okay. All right.
I can go, but I don't have exciting stuff.
Sorry, we'll check it out. Let's see. Okay, here you go, Dorothy.
I just wanted to preface this with the fact that I took a very short walk at the Sherman Hoffman Sanctuary. I had to go into work for a bit. And it's in Bernardsville, New Jersey. The trails are open from 9 to 5. And so it's really neat. So everything I found was common stuff, basically what you find, brackets and stuff on wood. But I thought of an education moment here because I picked some Stereum, ostrea, and this was wet. So that's actually the top surface when it's wet. So, and this up higher on the log was dry. All right, so you see the difference in just something wet or dry. And this one even has a circular shape. It looks like a funnel. So you have all these varieties. Now I picked these off a log on the ground and put them on another log. And what I want to point out is this background. That's something called white rot. Many fungi and polypores that rot wood can be put into categories. So this is something if you're a beginner, otherwise the old folks are going to be bored, but the white rot is something that the wood decay fungus can actually digest a brown substance in the walls called lignin. And so what happens is the white rot break down the lignin and they leave the cellulose behind, which can look stringy and white or yellow. Sometimes they break down both lignin and cellulose, but the texture of the wood comes out pretty much the same. So white rot fungi can be turkey tails, honey mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, things that grow on wood. Now, if you want to switch it to that thing I sent by itself, the brown rot picture, Luke, is that going to be too difficult?
No.
So if you're walking through the woods and you see a log down where you can see all this brown stuff and very often cuboidal bits, you could just pick up some of that stuff and crumble it, you know, turning it to soil again. So the brown rot fungi break down the cellulose in the cell walls of the wood and something called hemicellulose. And basically the brown substance lignin is left behind. Also, when the cellulose is broken down by hydrogen peroxide, which actually travels throughout the wood and cracks causes the cracking in this cuboidal manner. So your brown rot fungi, some good examples are the sulfur shelf, the chicken mushroom, Phallus schweinitzii, that's the dyer's polypore, and Fomitopsis panicula. And there's also something known as soft rot, and basically it's a less aggressive decomposer. An example of that would be Crushmeria dusta. I don't have a specimen of that, but I do know I lost my tree in the driveway, tipped over. The trunk was fine, but the old name, Ustia dusta, but now it's Crushmeria dusta, is a root rot. It rots it right at the base, so the tree is no longer sturdy. So I'm going to go back to the other pictures, Luke. And I'm sure if you walk in the woods, you're going to find this on a log. But the top looks like a turkey tail. You turn it over, and the old name was Lenzites betulina. Now it's Trametes betulina. When they do the DNA work, it turns out to be Trametes. Next. I'm sure you all know this. This is just a good beginner mushroom. Also, like the Stereum, this is in the same family, Stereaceae, and this is the ceramic parchment, Xylobolus, frustulatus, and it breaks down, it looks like little bits of tile. It's always on well decayed oak wood, but very, very hard to cut off. You're gonna just break it up into bits when you try to get it off the log. The next one.
Dorothy, what was the name of that last one on the oak parchment?
It's
I
in
wrote it on the chat.
Oh, okay, great.
Xylobolus XY. Okay,
Thank you. All right, I see it.
Ceramic parchment, and it is in the Barron book if you want to look at a picture. Now, much larger, all right, this is about a foot and a half across. And these are very old, but it seems to come out every year and grow larger in a different spot on this red oak that it's on the base of. And this is I call it the Warty Oak Polypore. The book calls it the Warted Oak Bracket. It's always on oak, and it's Inonotus dryadeus. Sometimes this thing is called the weeping polypore because it can produce this amber when it's very young and more rounded and not as bumpy as these old ones look. It can produce an amber fluid when it's kind of dewatering. So that's why it's called a weeping polypore. Inonotus dryadeus. The next one, all right, this is on a downed beach log. These are kind of dried out, but it's Phlebia radiata
Radiata.
and wrinkled crust. And it can be on conifer or hardwood. The interesting thing I noticed about this when it was fresh last year on the same log, that the next day some animal had come along and scratched it all off and ate some of the hyphae that were down below. So it was all eaten off. So I don't know, it's raccoons or bear or what.
Dorothy.
But something likes to eat it. Yeah.
I am not sure that Phlebia radiata grows on conifers, only on hardwoods.
This is not conifer.
No, you said that in both types of woods. On conifers, I don't think that they grow.
Oh, well, that's what Wikipedia says.
Oh, huh. Okay.
But I've only found it, I don't ever find conifers where I live. So it's always on hardwood, but the Wikipedia info said that.
Okay, interesting. I have found it so many times, but never on conifers.
Yeah, and I don't even have conifers. This next is, I was surprised to see it because I haven't seen it in a while. This is easily 6-7 inches across. And I learned it as Hypomyces badius. All right, it's called the black-footed polypore. But you might find it in 1997, someone gave it the name of Royoporus, Royoporus, badius. Originally, it had been Polyporus badius, or probably Boletus badius way, way back. It's bounced around to a lot of genera, and but it may go back to Hypomyces badius. It is white rock fungus, saprobic, the black-footed polypore. The next picture shows the underside. And you can see that blackened stem. And the next picture is the last I wanted to show. And this is Ischnoderma resinosus. And I know it's that, even though it's old, is because I was there when it was fresh in the summer. So if we can zoom in on that, you can see that it goes brown, and dark and black and in age. These are very old, actually. And the next picture shows the underside. It is a polypore. And there's the more creamy surface, but parts of it is white. So maybe that's what you might have had, Maricel, before. But I do know that these were, it was growing on a down beach, and it's Ischnoderma resinosum.
Dorothy, Champignon du Quebec says that that Ischnoderma that's generally regarded as a coniferous, growing on conifer, I think it starts with B-E-N-Z.
Bensonium.
Yeah, they say that one grows on beach sometimes. That's the only time I've ever seen that reported. But they do, the Quebec site, they do say that.
It's a different
species.
Different species.
But, yeah, but if it's on beach, my opinion is it's more likely to be resinosum. but that's just what I've always thought. So Champignon du Quebec says that what is it, benzonium or
Oh,
Onion.
okay, I've heard that. Yeah.
yeah, that they say it grows on beach sometimes. So
Oh,
that was new
And-
to me. Yeah, benzonium. Yeah.
and it's in the Fomatopsidaceae, so it's even been bounced around into different families.
It's a white rot, isn't it?
Let me see if I got that on my notes. Brown rot. Oh,
Oh, it
maybe
is?
not. I could have messed that up.
Let me look. I have Baroni's book right here. I think he's got Ischnoderma in there. Because I found one also, looked just like the one Marisol had last week, that where the pores got pretty big.
This one was, very old.
Yeah, and the pores are still pretty small on that one. Let's see.
No, the Rivarden book says white rot.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Rivarden says white rot of dead conifers and hardwood. The rot has a strong anise odor and is yellowish and stringy to spongy.
That's for benzonium?
That's for resinosum.
Oh, okay. Oh, so they say resinosum grows on conifer sometime. That's interesting.
So, but you know what? He doesn't have benzonium in here, but his newer book, his European book, does separate the two out. And he says the benzonium is on conifer and the resinosum's on, hardwood.
Huh.
So his book from the 80s
Okay.
don't
Something
separate
to
it.
look into. And of course, Quebec's got all those conifers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, true. All right, cool.
All right. Thank you, Luke.
You're welcome. All right. John and Nina, you guys want to talk about your mushrooms?
Oh, nice.
Okay, this is the Hygrophorus hypothejus, but what's weird about it is it had this red stem, but when I read about it, it said it did sometimes have a red stipe. But what I thought was really peculiar is the gills. It almost looks like the gills have a hypomyces or something on them because they're not really pronounced. But I couldn't find any hypomyces that grow on Hygrophorus. So it was just kind of strange, those gills.
I saw this on Mushroom Observer. I think Liz posted it.
Right.
Yeah, I suggested that it looks like there's a hypomyces on the gills.
Right.
I find this species locally in 2 and 3 needle pines.
Yeah.
And I think it's now called Hygrophorus boyeri, Boyeri.
Oh.
But the gills, these gills look a lot different.
Huh.
The gills on this hypothejus or boyeri, and they look just like regular Hygrophorus gills. They're not real blunt like these.
Yeah.
And they're white and they get a little yellow when they age. So this is pretty interesting, whatever this thing is.
They look sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look like
look
something's
deformed.
growing on them.
Yeah.
Well, I dried it, so I figure that sometime in the future somebody can look at it and maybe it's got some sort of hypona.
If it does, you might be able to just scrape a little bit off the hymenium and find some asci or something like that.
Well, I have found one thing I thought maybe an asci, but it wasn't. I'm not very good at that stuff. That's the trouble with that. Yeah, so, but it's anyway. Yeah. So it's very pretty though.
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
And there were this Hygrophorus hypothejus are everywhere. You fall over them all over the place.
In Franklin Parker?
This was right near your axis, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Don't they call them the harbinger of winter?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Right. Yeah, they seem to like the cold weather.
It's one of the last things I find around here.
Okay, this one is Clitocybe, and I found it on the Microcobac as coniferophylla. Is that it?
Clitocybe, you say?
Perophylla.
Coniferophylla. Yeah, Clitocybe. Clitocybe, sorry.
See, is
And-
it with a Y? Clyde is with a Y?
CLI.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Yeah, and it's Hygrophorus,
No.
no, what is it called? It changes color as it dries out.
Oh, hydrophanous.
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 Right.
It's, I'll try to write it in the
Yeah,
chat.
yeah, it changes color, and it was shallowly depressed, and it didn't have any odor or taste, and the gills were adnate. They say later on that they got to be a bit decurrent, but these were quite young. And let's see.
They have forked gills.
No, they don't have forked gills.
Look at the picture.
No, that's it. I looked at it looks sort of like it from the picture, but I did not see any forked when I looked close.
They're just short ones.
Those
Yeah.
are short ones that stick to the long ones. I run into that.
Okay,
Yes.
so yeah, no forking and no joining of the gills.
Mhm.
So when I looked in Bigelow on page what was it? Well, anyway, I found 104. I found a description of this thing, and it seemed to match. And he said that it was found in two needle pines, which is where it was found. So a little brown mushroom.
What's the name? Or it's-
I'm trying to, I wrote that, how do you send something in the chat? I typed the name.
I wrote it in my email.
Here's the name right here.
In the email.
I'm highlighting it.
Right.
Oh, coniferophylla. Okay.
must be
Like conifer.
coniferophylla.
Coniferophylla.
Yeah. And it had sort of big balloony things in the context. And he says that it has hyphae cylinder to somewhat inflated, and it did those things that look like sort of Thanksgiving Macy Day balloons sort of things.
Caelocystidia?
Yeah, something in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I made it out to be, and it's in the Quebec site there too. So luckily, I had this Bigelow book. I could check it out. Okay, that's it.
All right, thanks, guys. All right, I'm going to open up my mushroom observer. Here we are. Okay, I'm going to start with this one. Mycena megaspora.
Got a long root.
So I was down in Burlington County over the weekend. This says Wharton. I don't know if that's where I was at. Is it right? Yeah, I'm looking at my conversation I had with Dave. I don't remember what we were saying. Huh.
It just seemed very odd looking mushroom to me.
Yeah.
The gills, the color of the mushroom and the gills reminded me of
Cupophilus lacmus.
Cupophilus lacmus.
Yeah.
But the gill attachment is sort of way wrong for that.
Okay, so wait a minute. This is coming back. This is coming back to me now. So this one I didn't scope.
I found something that looks like this, by the way. It's on my list.
Okay. Here we go.
So the other one you have next to it, you
Yes.
called the same thing?
Yes,
And did you look at spores of it?
I did.
So I'm guessing from the name, it must have really big spores. Oh, that's right. I looked it up. I looked it up on C2Q, the Quebec site.
That's
How big, how long is this?
okay. So overall, this thing was about 4 inches tall and pushing 2 inches wide. It was a pretty big mushroom.
Big one, yep.
Yep, it has this cross veining in it.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it kind of pretty closely there.
Beautiful. Yep.
It was buried deeply in like kind of in the mossy duff of the ground. So it was probably buried up to there. So all that was underground. All right, enough pictures. And so here are the spores, and they're amyloid. As soon as I dropped the melters on, I could see it turn blue in my little, pile. And the spores are quite big. They were 11 by 7.5. So Champignon du Quebec, that's actually where I got this name from. So I've seen this name before of people picking this in the Pine Barrens.
Yes, we have it on our list. We got it a few years ago, and it has this long root sort of thing, mycelium at the base.
Yeah, like that, right?
And I had showed it to John Plisky, and he said that this is what it was. So
okay, all right. Well, that's what I called that. I went back and changed. Oh man, I just closed my Mushroom Observer. Sorry. I went back and changed. That's why that other one opened right up, because I went back and changed this one, because this was found, I guess, close by. Not exactly right by, but in the same county, within a few miles of each other, a week ago. I guess that one I did not scope that one. There we go. I guess I'm looking at it now. My gills do look a little different coloration, but I don't know. I don't know about this one.
It looks older though, yeah.
Older, but it was buried deeply like that.
Wow, that's cool.
Okay. So there's that one. This one I found right by my house in Letinus brumalis. Oops. There we go. So this was on birch. Sounds like a birch tree. So this is a polypore.
It looks big.
This one was pretty big. This one was a couple of inches wide. That was the biggest one, maybe 3 inches wide. Most of them were like this. Now the only thing that was on here, I was using a Mushroom Expert.
I didn't know that was called Lentinus.
Letinus brumalis.
Yeah, it used to be polypores. That got changed about
Did that
4
change
years ago.
genera? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Brumalis, okay.
So he was saying brumalis.
It's the winter polypore, right? Common name?
Yes.
Yes. Now there's that other one. It starts with an A. I forget.
Arcularis.
Arcularis, right. I think it's Arcularis. He said, this is Michael Quo, he said that one's fringed with fine hairs.
This one has hairs too when it's younger, but not as hairy as Arcularis. And Arcularis has like a thin stem too, I think.
Okay. The only thing that was odd with this one is it definitely was bruising around. He says it doesn't bruise at all, but that's his word. This one was bruising as I was touching it. His
looks like brumalis to me.
Okay.
I found it on birch.
It was on birch, and he notes that it has a preference for birch. So
Yeah, I found it there too.
All right.
But when they're young, they have hairs close to the margin of the cap. But those hairs seem to erode away, and eventually they're bald. More, I guess these seem kind of bald.
Yeah, these were pretty bald. They were a little older. These guys were fresh enough that the pores were still bruising on them, but a lot of them that were on there were drying out. You can see this one's cracking.
Mhm.
I had to kind of pick through them to find some fresher ones. All right. So I found this one in that same park. There's a place called the Chamonix State Park right by my house. So Phlebia chrysoriza. I guess that was Phanericate
Mhm.
kind of recently, but
Beautiful.
yeah, this is always a sharp one. So this was under a log, rolled over a big log, and there were patches of this kind of hydnoid orange crust with these rhizomorphs. This one didn't have much in the orange rhizomorphs. There was a few starting, but
Did you just say that they changed the name?
yes, Hydnophlebia.
Huh.
At least that's what Mushroom Expert says. Not Mushroom Expert, I'm sorry, Mushroom Observer. But they're usually pretty on. So here, I'll go back up to the name so you can see it. There you go. See it right there?
Yep.
All right. So in that park that I go to, it's right by my house. And I live in the Philadelphia area, which is very like deciduous woodland area. But there's this park right by my house, and they have a couple of acres of sand dunes. It's right on the Delaware River. And in these sand dunes is full of some sort of scrubby oak trees. I always call them scrub oaks, and a two-needle pine. That grows in there, and I find these mushrooms back there that are the same species as what we find down in the Pine Barrens all the time.
Ah, on the side of the road. Yep.
So these are the Leotia vicosa. This one was really bleached. They're like really buried deep in the sand. Like it was probably buried up to there.
Wow.
The rest of it was all underground. It was kind of getting dim late in the day, so the color didn't show. But the rest, these you can see, they were pretty yellow with the green cap. Some of them had these bigger, brainier growths on them.
That's an interesting habitat from my point of view, because when I find these, I usually find them in moss.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I think I looked it up in the Bassett book, the ASCO book, and they said in sand dunes.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to double check that and look back through my old observations.
Yeah. Yeah, this area, this whole patch, I go to it, usually this time of the year. I always find lacarias there. I find the Amanita lavendula there, just, stuff that I would see down in the Pine Barrens that I'm not used to seeing in Philadelphia at all. The Phalophora, that's why I was asking John and Nina about the Phalophora earlier, because I was trying to get the right name for it. But you know how you walk through in the Pine Barrens and you see patches of the Phalophora everywhere? And it's like this at this park. And it's just a couple of acres of these sand dunes.
Nice.
I asked the guy, the head ranger there about it once, and he said nobody has any explanation for it. It's these sand pits along the Delaware River. Okay, this is my last one, I think.
You had some of these on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah. So this one, Protocrea pallida. This one was an interesting one. So this was a polypore, a Hypomyces or something like that. It was really soft.
Oh, yeah. Attacking postia?
Yeah. So, but it was, really soft, but it had this orange color to it. But when you broke it open, I don't think I took a picture of the inside of it. The inside was still kind of whitish. So at first I called this Hypomyces. I jumped the gun, right? Because I put KOH on it and it turned red right away. And I have this book that I got from John and Nina, the Fungicolous fungi of the Mid-Atlantic states, by Gary Samuels. And I came across a Hypomyces that attacks polypores called Aurantius.
Yes.
That turns red in KOH. So immediately I identified it as that. But so here's the little parathecia.
Pycnidia, yeah.
But then I
Wow.
looked at it a little closer and I found these asci in there, and they had 16 spores to it, which didn't match up. So a few pages further, I found the Protochrea pallida in there. So this is a case where I guess where microscopy was definitely needed, at least for me, to get to the right one. The other one, the Hypomyces, they have 8 spores, and they're more like lance-like. And these are whatever you call that, subglobose.
They look like peas, kind of.
Yeah, you're right. They do.
Yeah.
They're kind of a rat.
Yeah.
I didn't even think these were asci at first. I kept finding these, and I didn't really understand what I was looking at because, yeah, they look like peas, and there were 16 of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It just didn't look quite right for me. Now this one, like, it really is kind of purplish looking. Dave suggested that it could have been what did you say, Dave? A Hapalopus?
Yep, KOH on Hypolopus nigilans, or whatever that new name is for it now, turns purple.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe the host
No,
was.
No, this isn't even close to Hypolopus nigilans or Croceus.
Yeah, it was definitely spongy, like a Tyromyces. Now I was on the Michael Quebec, and they did refer to another Protochrea called Inonotus, and they said that one does turn purple. That one's more commonly on Skeletocutis, but still in Tyromyces sometimes. And I did a Google search, and I found one paper that was behind a paywall I couldn't get to that was talking about this. So I kind of gave up on it. The more I looked into it, the more I found the Prochrea, they have different descriptions, everything from like a orange to a red to a violet color. I think this is right. None of the spores were, I could not find any of these spores outside of the asci to actually measure them. I found lots of Tyromyces spores. This thing was still had spores in it.
Yeah.
That mushroom still had spores in it, so it was still fighting. So anyway, that was a cool find.
Yep.
So that is it for me then. I'm gonna close my mushroom observer down. All right, Dave sent me a nice list here. Before I do that, let me stop real quick and check the chat. Was there anybody else tonight that has mushrooms that they want to show? Because we're just taking our good time here. Just make sure everyone gets a chance. Okay, nobody's saying anything, so. Okay, so here you go, Dave.
Yeah, this is probably going to be it for me for a while. What's the weather forecast in New Jersey?
snow in
No.
the afternoon through Thursday.
Yeah, we're supposed to get 12 to 18 inches. But I showed this last week, but I went back and found some more because Luke put me in touch with this guy, David Hewitt, who did his PhD on Neolecta. And I had measured asci from the collections I made a couple weeks ago and also last year. And the asci seemed to be the wrong size for either of the two documented species, Neolecta irregularis and Neolecta betulina, I think is the other one. And so he told me, he got pretty excited. He said that when he was researching Neolecta, he found some, he thinks he remembered finding some where the size of the asci didn't fit either of the species. And when I say didn't fit, it's the betulina, the asci are not supposed to be any bigger than 75 microns, and the irregularis, the asci are not supposed to be any smaller than, I think, maybe like 120 or something microns. So almost all the asci that I found intact, and I do a smash mount, so they kind of, they're free flowing in Congo red I used. And it looks like they're almost all 70, they're like 90 to 120 microns, which is, it's right in the middle of the two ranges. So I made a second collection. The first collection I made, I dried some out just by putting in a aluminum pie tin and putting the pie tin on our wood burner. But these, since I realize now these might be useful for someone to research, I put them in the dryer and for 18 hours, and so now I have a good collection of these, whatever they are. David Hewitt said he'd like me to submit them to something. He sent me a lot of stuff to read, and I'm still a little busy with administering final exams this week. So next week I'll have more time, and I'm going to read through everything he sent me. I'm glad I went back on Sunday, because that was pretty much the last day to be able to find anything. It got pretty cold yesterday. And those are the spores. And I think I have one picture here of an ascus. The other collections I made, I had a lot more asci shown. I think this one's probably about 90. So it's like on the lower end of the length scale. But I found some of them had longer asci. So just an interesting thing to find. And so I'll be submitting.
The spores again?
Excuse me?
The spores, can we see the spores again?
Yep. Yeah, they don't look like ascospores.
That's fine, yeah. I was so
No, they look like like Marasmiellus or something like that. The shape and the size.
Oh, that's really
Yeah, it is interesting for an asco to have spores that look like that.
Yeah. And even like they look like Trametes type. Wow, there is one that has this special tape. Huh.
The microscope that I have that I take pictures with is an old microscope that I got for $50 from the college where I work, and it's in pretty bad shape. It's it's scratched up. There's dirt on it that's never going to be cleaned off. But the two advantages, it has the reticle to be able to take measurements, and it's a monocular scope. It's a single eyepiece. So when I point my digital camera into this single eyepiece, I usually have to take anywhere from 3 to 20 photos before I get it to focus correctly. And I use a macro setting, and I cannot get decent photos through my binocular scope, which is actually a better microscope than this one. It's newer, it's in better condition. But that's one advantage to a single eyepiece microscope, is it's all focused through the one eyepiece, so you get decent pictures.
Dave?
Yes.
Are you sure that's the right photo of the spores?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can compare with go on Mushroom Observer and find my other observation of Neolecta from a week or so ago, and they're the same. And you can't really see the spores in the ascus. Ascus. This particular microscope, the resolution's not great because it's old and beat up. But when you can see the spores in the ascus, you can see they look like these, but they're smaller, basically. So, and the asci are not amyloid. This is actually mounted in melters, which is not the best medium to mount things in that are not amyloid, but I wanted to see if the asci were amyloid on the tips at least, so I mounted in melters, and they appear to be not reactive. So it's another piece of information. But yeah, those are the spores. Also, you can, if you look at the spore picture, right, again, or maybe not the spore picture, maybe one of the other micro shots. Is there another one, or is
Yeah,
that?
no, it's only those
Oh,
two.
that's okay. There's the other observation I made. Sometimes you can see little tiny globose, subglobose things floating around, and I think those are conidium. They didn't come out too well in the photos this time. So yeah, under some sort of 2-needle pine, I'm still trying to figure out what kind of pine it is. So yeah, so that's the last day pretty much that I could have made another collection. I went back to the spot, and there were still some there, probably a few new ones. David Hewitt told me they used to look for them in New England when there was snow on the ground. Okay, so this reminds me of the Ischnoderma, what we thought might be Ischnoderma that Marisol had last week, and this one also has. If you look at the underside, the pores are going to be pretty big, and I think it's basically because of two things. It's first of all, this is a mature fruit body, and secondly, I think when it starts to dry out, the walls of the tubes break apart, and then you get these little cracks that form in the hymenium, and those are not single pore openings. If you do a zoom on that, you can see here that what's going on is probably individual pores are probably breaking apart to make these bigger slot-like things, but I don't think that that's the actual shape of the pore openings.
Right.
But still, the pore openings are pretty big for Ischnoderma, but I think that's what it is. I got, the very dark reaction with KOH on the cap surface. The spore, I got spores here too. Also, you can see here what matches up what Michael Quo says about KOH reactions, that it's grayish or brownish on the context. And up here towards the cap surface, it's black, but I think that's probably because just some of the chemical that reacted on the cap surface got into the KOH, and then it sort of permeated the top layer of the context. So I think that's why it's really dark up there. But I got spores also, and they look just like the ones Marisol showed last week. I think my dimensions that I measured were a little bit different. Maybe, I think 1.5 to 2 microns wide. I think I may have written here. I think it's written there under the, 1.5 to 2. So 5.5 to 7, 1.5. That matches very well. And the shape of the spores also. Of course, shapes of spores in polypores, you have to be a little bit suspect of using just that piece of information, because a lot of polypores have these sausage-shaped spores, like a lot of Trametes do. That's just as an example. Yes?
Dave, can you please explain to Mintari what's KOH? She's asking.
Oh, I'm sorry. Potassium hydroxide. Yes, I use for reactions on color change reactions, I use 10%. So the stronger solution, I think, is more likely to give you a more notable color reaction. For mounting spores and things like that, I use, I think I've got it mixed at 4%. I forget, but it's a lot weaker.
So what happens there, Antari, is what he did was he took his KOH, which is a chemical, potassium hydroxide, and he put a drop of it on the top of the mushroom, and this reaction occurred.
Very quick. It changed very, very quickly.
Oh, okay.
And if you see the next photograph, he has another one.
You use ammonia somewhat similarly, household ammonia?
Yeah, I have ammonia too, but I don't use much ammonia on polypores. I don't seem to run into many explanations. Ammonia is really good, like on some boletes, like xanthoconium and Boletus separans, which used to be in xanthoconium. You get pretty notable color reactions with ammonia. Yeah, just regular household ammonia that you buy.
So there's different chemicals that are good for different groups. Like people use chlorine for lichens and ammonia for boletes and KOH for polypores, and There's some other ones out there.
Where do you make your own KOH from drain cleaner or something, or do you buy it? How do you get this?
You buy it online. There's places you can buy it online.
Amazon sells the scales from like $10 that will last you for a long time.
Does everybody know what Meltzer's is?
Yeah, Meltzer's is really hard to get. That's what it is. Luke suggested a potential source to me, and that potential source did pay off. I was able to buy from him a pretty good amount of Meltzer's. And when I use Meltzer's, because it's so valuable and so hard to get, I purchased this thing that looks like a hypodermic needle, but it's not a needle. It's just this uptake thing. And the reason why I use this was suggested to me by Igor. He actually bought me one a few years ago, and it wore out, so I bought a new one. And it uptakes a liquid like a hypodermic, and you can control how much liquid it takes up. You can take up just a tiny amount, and then you squirt it out onto whatever you're mounting or testing for amyloidity or dex, or see if it's, sometimes spores are dextrinoid, it's different color change. But you can use a tiny amount, and using this hypodermic like thing, which if we meet over the winter, I'll try to remember to bring it out and so I can hold it up, and you can see it on the screen. It's a good way to preserve your Meltzer's, because Meltzer's is so hard to get. It's got chloral hydrate in it, which is a controlled substance.
Dave, can you store the Meltzer's for a long time without?
Yes, I have stored Meltzer's for years, and not in any sort of, not refrigerated or anything, and it seemed to keep working. What I've read suggests that Meltzer's has very good shelf life. Probably you want to put it in a container that's not real clear, maybe a tint, some dark tinted glass or something like that.
Lila?
Yes.
If you can't connect with a high school science teacher for KOH, I can give you some extra if we ever meet somewhere.
Okay. All right. Good, Dorothy. And yes, we need to meet.
Do you guys not still keep in touch with the guy who replaced Gene Verney, White? What's his first name?
Jim White?
Jim White. He might be a source for some of these things.
Oh, absolutely.
At Rutgers, since he knows what you guys are trying to do with this stuff.
Except that all the, I see him every fall doing some programs for his 1 credit course, but I didn't think to ask him for that, but I don't know. I guess the kids are still in college.
It's a good contact to keep involved with the club, that's all.
Yep.
Okay, so here you go, Dave. Go on.
Right, when I saw that this thing that Marisol found last week, I thought maybe this was also an example. I didn't take any home because I looked at it and I just thought, oh, that's Phlebia radiata. I think it's on oak. I think that's what it is, though.
It is.
I talked with Luke about it.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Frozen. We went for a walk last weekend. It was a cold day, and this stuff was frozen right to the log, so I didn't even try to bother with it. But anyway, that's all there is to that thing. I mean, the close-up is kind of cool, I guess, but there's a few other things to look at here.
Nice picture.
Yeah, it came out okay. So I don't know what this Trichiloma is. Growing under what I think is jack pine. I'm not sure. It's a 2-needle pine. The closest I could find was atro. I think I wrote it down there in the notes. I forget already. But it's some kind of trichiloma. I don't know the species on this one. If anybody has a suggestion, look it up. It's not it's not Stereum. It's not Portentosum. It's I'm not sure what this is, but it's a trichiloma. So I found those on Sunday. So it was the spot where I found these is not that far from where those neolectic grow, and so I was actually exploring, looking for new spots. I found some old coal mined areas really that are now reforested, and they have these patches of various 2 and 3 needle pines. So it looks like a good spot to look for mushrooms late in the season, which is when you usually find these a lot of these pine associates, these things that are mycorrhizal with 2 and 3 needle pines, don't come out until late in the season. Well, I guess it's like that in the pine barrens too, where your species diversity really takes off in in sort of late fall. So if anybody had a suggestion, or if you do have a suggestion, just go on Mushroom, or send me an email. If you're a member of Mushroom Observer, you can just write a comment or make a proposal or whatever. Otherwise, if you don't know my email, I can put it on here, or you can just ask Luke.
Lichen.
Okay, here we go, Dorothy. We got some lichens for you, and this one's pretty cool. Karen did a fair amount of checking around, and we posted it as could be Cladonia. Was it Gracilis, right?
Gracilis.
Yeah, Gracilis. Yeah. And so Jason Hollinger came on and he said he thinks that's what it is. And growing on top of like a fence post kind of thing, like a thick wooden fence post, right next to another Cladonia, some British soldiers. There was like a clump of the red ones and a clump of these right next to one another.
Beautiful.
Yeah, some of the photos came out really nice. If you do a close up on this one, it's some of the.
There's a brown apothecia, all those little brown bumps.
Yeah, and there's another photo I think that's even better than
Look
this
at
one.
the one on the lower right. It's beautiful. All the way, beautiful.
Oh,
Look at that.
okay.
Yeah.
Look at all
Oh, this one with the yeah. That's why I blew this picture up really, was because of that thing. Yeah, with the little tiny, what do you call those little things on apothecia? Yeah.
Apothecia.
Yeah. So there's another photo too that shows pretty good detail. So these photos I took them in a macro setting, and then I put them on my computer and cropped them. So it's, yeah, there we go. You can really see pretty nice detail of the apothecia.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so a pretty cool find.
Did you guys notice that somebody's offering to get you the KOH from his lab?
Nice.
Look in the chat.
Dave, somebody also suggested a name for your tricoloma.
Oh, good. Oh, let me write it down. Where is it?
On the chat.
Yeah, I don't see it. What do I do? Click on chat?
Cerulatum.
Ceratiifolium. Okay.
Oh, ceratiifolium. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, okay. Oh, you know what? I considered that. That was another name I considered, so I'll look at that again. Yeah, I think that one is supposed to have gills that are really jagged right from the start.
Yeah.
And then they get eroded later on. So which is one reason why I didn't propose that, but I'll look at that again. I didn't compare the spore size. I think the spore size might have been different too. But I'll check that out again. Thank you.
More
So
Cladonia.
I got some more Cladonias also. Not as interesting as that Gracilis. This one's pretty cool, though, actually. This was on another top of a fence post in the same sort of row of fence posts along a road in a park.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this one looks nice and close up too. The lower part, the upper part's a little bit out of focus, but some of the lower part, I think over on the right.
The leafy material is called a thallus, and the part that's coming up is called a podicium, plural podetia, and Ochrochlora, Cladonia ochrochlora. One of its common names is called the awl lichen, AWL.
Oh, because of the
shape.
What are the things called sticking up?
Podetia.
Podetia. Okay, yeah, because of those guys.
Those are one is a podicium, and on the top, sometimes you can find a little brown dot. That's the apothecia.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you.
So the stalky thing is a podicium.
Uh-huh.
Now just looking at the Proto book.
In reality, how big is this thing?
Oh, the whole patch was, the diameter was maybe about 5 or 6 inches, maybe.
Oh, that's a big specimen.
If that, maybe a little smaller than that.
Yeah, short.
maybe 3 or 4 inches. The whole thing.
There you go.
Well, there it is right there. You can see this on top of this post. The post is like, I guess that's probably like a 6 by 6 or something. Or, yeah.
It's a mini garden there.
So there was another one of these posts that had the Cladonia gracilis on it, and there's one more Cladonia also to show that was on the other fence post along with the gracilis. This one was all just by itself here. Oh wait, no, but it looks like there's a. Well, anyway, go to the other one because it looked like there might have been something else mixed in there, but that's okay.
It might have had Cristatella on it.
Yeah, the other one is that we're going to show is Cristatella, right?
This is the common British soldier lichen.
Yep. And it's these little guys are very photogenic.
Yep.
So this is a species complex, though, as I understand it, and it's actually kind of hard to get an exact ID to species. But once again, the camera was in a good mood this day. I guess, it's all about the lighting, really. You have good ambient lighting, not too much glare, but good ambient lighting. And a lot of times all you do is point and shoot and you get a good photo.
But you still need a good 10x loop because you've got to look on the surface of the podetia whether there's the vegetative propagules, either Soridia or other structures. So it's more difficult than you think.
Right, yeah. Well, that's Karen usually does that.
Yep.
I don't look at the lichens too much. She does those. And you took some of that home, didn't you? The British soldiers?
Yeah. I did.
Yeah. So she probably looked at what you're mentioning.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So this was on the same top of a log with the gracilis. I should have taken a picture that showed both of them, really. I just didn't think of it right at the time.
Sounds like lichens wants to be one of your topics, Luke.
Well, there's that woman that's coming up in February who's talking about the marble monuments, lichens, and biofilms.
Yeah.
But she's interested in preserving those monuments. It's getting rid of the lichens that are on them.
Oh no.
She works for the National Park Service to help maintain these things.
Right.
Oh, those lichens take many, many years to grow.
All right,
Yeah, I
well,
know, but the size of the Washington Monument,
Oh,
work on that? Or decide what has to be, how it has to be cleaned?
so David Aurora calls Tubaria furfuracea, I think, something like the epitome of the LBM.
Yes.
And I think that's probably what these are. But you know, the more I find these Tubaria furfuracea, the more I'm convinced there's probably more than one species going on here. These were in a litter, needle litter and soil, poor soil underneath a single small 2-needle pine, probably a jack pine, I think. The spore print on Tubaria is generally ochre. So it's not quite brown, but not really vividly yellow. It's kind of like in between. And I think I even showed a picture of the spore print here. And that's one way you can tell Tubaria. It'll give you it'll tell you, okay, maybe it's Tubaria. I mean, maybe a thin Cortinarius print might look a little bit like that. The spores, though, don't really look like Cortinarius spores. I guess they do a little bit, but I think Tubaria spores are pretty smooth. I didn't look at them with my other microscope where I could have maybe seen ornamentation. Here you go. Here's one way you tell Tubaria from Cortinarius. Most Cortinarius don't have hymenial cystidia, and Tubaria, at least Tubaria furfuracea, has these cylindric, or what they sometimes call flexuous chylocystidia. Flexuous means that they have like bends in them, like over on the right, you can see one there, it's like got bends in it. Sometimes subcapitate. There's one kind of Tubaria, not furfuracea, a different one, I forget the species name, has capitate chylocystidia. In other words, there's like a little head on top. So that's, if you do that, you pretty much can eliminate Cortinarius, because I think most Cortinarius do not have hymenial cystidia. So Tubaria is, I think they're saprobic. Yeah, they're saprobic. You usually find them like on wood chips and stuff.
Yeah, mulch.
This is the mushroom for all seasons, Tubaria.
Yeah.
I believe this is the only species of fungus, aside from some polypore, that's there all the time, right?
Oh.
That I have found during every month of the year, including January, February, and March.
Wow.
So it might be the epitome of the LBM, but it's actually pretty interesting species.
Yeah,
That's Hygrophorus too.
Yes, 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 very much Hygrophorus. I should have turned over the bigger one that are showing the gills. The bigger one is completely white. You know what? In one of the photos, you might be able to see that. The bigger one is completely white, right? And by Hygrophorus, we were discussing that before. These start out brown when they're moist, and as they lose moisture, the brown turns to white.
I love the way the cap in the right cracked.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
nice
yeah, they were nice caps, so I tried to get a good photo. That photo's not too bad. So yeah, it's one of the last things I find I don't know if you can call it last. If there's a thaw in January, there's a pretty good chance you'll find them. You can find them in urban settings also, like in ornamental areas with wood chips and mulch.
I always see them at the playground under the gym sets.
Yep. That's the kind of place you'll find them. Sometimes they fan out into a lawn. Oh, rhizome. What's the rhizome? Do we have time for a few more? Rhizome Erasmus pyrocephalus. Another mushroom that seems to have a really big fruiting time window. I start finding these in May on my property, and I find them all the way up till, well, if it's a warm beginning of the winter, I'll find them all the way up to January maybe, and I think I have found them even in March. Yes.
I find them in the spring and summer. Yep.
Dave,
Yes.
do they always show that long stipe?
Usually, yes, they do, because I think one of the reasons why they grow in weather that's pretty cold, because we've had some cold nights around here, you know, in the mid-20s. They're growing from a saprobic fungus that's permeating, you know, forest litter that's down below the surface a little bit, and maybe underneath like a lot of dead leaves that are lying around. And so they need to have this long stipe to be able to put the part of the fruit body that produces spores up above the substrate. So yes, they usually have a long stem. The stem is somewhat hairy. The apex of the stem is usually white. There's usually a pretty distinctive demarcation between the white and the brown. Although when they're young, the stipe can be almost completely white, except for maybe right around the bottom. These are not young. These are probably out there for a little while. And the spores are, well, the spores look like Neolectus spores. Huh?
Yes.
But the cystidia give it away.
Oh, you know, I forgot to look at the cystidia. Yeah, I believe you're right about that, Dorothy. Yeah, I should have done that.
They're very bottle shaped. They're cool.
Bottle shaped, yes. Yep. I don't think I did that this time. I think I may have. I think I was going to, and then something came up. I was doing something else, and then I forgot.
And the name Pyro, fire
cap.
Head. Yeah, fire head, fire cap.
What's the first name?
Rhizomarasmius, like marasmius with RHIZO in front of it.
Right.
They used to be marasmius.
The species name Pyrocephalus means fire head, and you have that orangey top.
Thanks.
Yeah, sometimes they're almost white with just a little bit of orange in the middle. Usually they look like this though. This is the typical color profile for this species.
Cool. Beautiful.
Yeah, they're nice little mushrooms. So this is what was previously this evening was called Hygrophorus hypothejus. According to Mushroom Observer, and I believe I checked this on Index Fungorum also. Now it's Hygrophorus boyeri. And Dorothy, I tried to get a picture of that nice lichen that's near it, but the pictures I took, pictures I took didn't really come out, so I didn't post them. Except you can see the lichen there a little bit because I use them as a backdrop. These are really small. Usually this species produces bigger mushrooms than this, and I posted at not the highest level of confidence because the small size of these fruit bodies is sort of making me wonder a little bit if it might be something different. But usually this is what boyeri or hypothejus looks like. And the gills are typical sort of Hygrophorus type gills, slightly decurrent. They get a little bit yellowish when the mushroom gets a little older. The stipe gets a little bit yellowish. The spores are usually the lengths of the spores are around 8 microns, but they go up to about 10. A lot of Hygrophorus have spores in spore morphology that's pretty similar to this. But I always look at them anyway if I have time. So the ones that look round, by the way, you might be wondering, why are some of those spores round? Those are positioned in the mounting medium so that we're viewing them from like the North Pole, right straight down. So you're not seeing them in profile. You're seeing them in what we might call the polar view, I guess. So that's why a few of the spores look like they're round. It's one of the last mushrooms species I find every year. 2 and 3 needle pines. So Luke, when I first found this, I thought, hey, that's that thing Luke found. that mycena, and which you called megaspora, right? So I thought, oh, good. All I'm going to have to do is put some melters on the spores, make sure they're amyloid, and then look at the size of the spores, right? Because that looks like that thing you found.
Yeah.
And the spores were not amyloid, and the spores are like the smallest spores that you'll ever see on an agaric. They're like the lengths are like smaller than 5 microns.
Wow.
So Tephrocybe is what I'm guessing for this. Tephrocybe is a small genus of mycenoid mushrooms with non-amyloid spores, and the spores are typically small in Tephrocybe. So that's just a guess. Maybe, maybe if Jacob Polk comes on Mushroom Observer, he knows these little mushrooms really well. Maybe he'll have something to say. So, yeah, it's funny though, because I thought, oh, good, that's that thing Luke found, right? But these are a lot smaller also than what Luke found. But same habitat, where a stand of pine was mixing with hardwoods like oak. So it sounded, Luke, I think that's similar to what the habitat you said.
Yeah, pine and oak.
Yeah, so I thought, oh, good, that's that thing, but it's completely different. So not sure what it is. I didn't preserve it. It's hard to preserve every single thing. I mean, it's, it gets to be almost like a job sometimes. So, and good old Panellus dipticus, which you'll see all winter long because they fruit and then they hang around for a long time. Amyloid white spores. I didn't take a picture of the spores here. Supposedly when they're really young, they glow in the dark, but I have not ever been successful with seeing that.
Oh, yes, they do. Yes, they do. You can read a book by them if you're in a closet.
I guess you have to get them when they're really fresh.
Yeah.
But I'll have to keep trying. That's a pretty good example of a species. They have like a little stipe that's coated in this like farina. I guess you would call it farinose on the stipe.
What about the edge of the gills?
Yeah, it's probably loaded with Chylocystia, but I didn't look.
No. They look serrated. That's what I mean.
I think we would call that maybe fimbriate, but yes, serrated also. But I think that's probably because there's a lot of Chylocystia on the gill. You know what? Let me look. I have a book right here. Let's see if Baroni says about the gill edges having a lot of cystidia on them, because that would be my, it's funny. See, I usually don't scope these because they're so common.
Yep.
It's like I'll see it and I'll say, oh, I know what that is,
But they are so photogenic. The gills are so awesome.
Yeah, they look very nice.
Yep.
Yeah. I find them on, I don't know if they have a preference for wood type, because I just seem to see a whole lot of them in all types of forests.
They are easy to recognize because of that little short stem.
Yes.
The gills and the little small caps and little clusters. Sometimes you find quite a lot of them together.
And the caps have like a peculiar appearance too. Like scaly, kind of.
Yeah, scaly or farinose or it's hard to tell sometimes which of these adjectives best applies.
There's undoubtedly a proper mycological term, and we're not clever enough to remember what it is.
Well, sometimes you'll see one source use one word and another source use another word, because sometimes it's not completely clear. Scaly, farinose. What are some of the other words that are in that same ballpark?
There's a book on mycological terms.
Yeah, I should get that.
Dave?
Yes.
Is Mintari still there? Mintari?
Yes, I'm still here.
Mintari, I wanted to show you how I take my micro photos. They sell a camera that you plug to your, oops, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to show you this book.
Go ahead.
But there is a book. I don't know if you can really see it.
Oh, okay. I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
I have to talk so it's big enough on your screens.
Yeah.
It's
Mycological
from the New
English
York-
Latin
it's
glossary.
probably
Okay.
quite old.
All right, now my turn.
1965. Sorry.
Sorry. Okay, so I wanted to show to Mintari. This is a camera. You plug it into the computer, and then you take one of the lenses of the microscope, and you insert this in that lens, and then you take the photo.
Oh, okay.
It's so easy. The only thing that I hate about this is that all the debris that go inside the microscope, that's why my photos are horrible, because I have done this million times, on and off, so I put a lot of debris inside.
So what part of a mushroom that you take out, put it in the microscope?
The microscope that I have here has two lenses. So I take one of the lenses and insert this in that lens.
Right.
But now I'm going to buy a trinocular. So I wouldn't have to take this on and off and on and off. So I wouldn't put debris inside the microscope.
Binocular, you said?
Trinocular.
Oh,
trinocular. 3 lenses, one for the camera, and I still can see that because I had to take it out so I can see first with my eyes directly, and then I put this to take the photos. That's why it doesn't, you know.
What do you call that device that you're holding there? That tool?
It is called an USB camera.
Oh, USB camera. Oh, okay.
Microscope eyepiece camera.
Okay.
$50 I pay for this one.
$50.
Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
It will probably last for a long time. So,
I have it for a long time. Yeah.
So what part of a mushroom that you slice to?
Oh, you take a little sample of the little tiny. There is another microscope that I use. And you look in there how to take the little piece of the mushroom, you put it on the slide, and then you cover it, you put water, put the little sample, put the slide cover, and then you bring it to the other microscope, and then you take your photo when you see what you want, the structures that you want.
Okay, that sounds cool. Okay, thank you, Maricel.
Are you still using a razor blade to get your sample from the mushroom?
Me? I can't.
When you're trying to make a slide of a mushroom, you use a razor blade to take the tiniest pinhead-sized piece to be able to see the structures that you want.
If it's too big, it would not show?
Correct.
No. I see, got it.
But I have to tell you something about that. I have tried this blade so many times, and the results vary depending on the type of mushroom you're doing. Sometimes it's so clear, it's so beautiful. Sometimes it's like a piece of charcoal. You see nothing. And I tried so many times and it wouldn't work. So sometimes I just take little speckles of it, and sometimes you can see the structures. So some mushrooms are too hard. Sometimes some are so fragile that you can see. It varies. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
All right. Can we have time. I want to show you guys one more picture I have and see if anybody.
And look, remember the theme for the next week?
Yes, I have it written down.
All right.
Look at this. Do you see this mushroom here?
Yeah.
Lycostroma?
Yes.
That's the Micheneria.
Lycostroma gigantea before. Michenera, I forgot the name.
Yeah.
Michenera. Okay.
This is the asexual form.
Yes,
I had it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Is that the Cylindrobasidium?
No.
Evolvens? That's a different crust.
Oh no, that's another crust.
Okay. That was I knew we were talking about that, and this is the asexual stage, right?
Yes, that is.
Okay, I knew you guys knew the name. I knew we looked at this a couple weeks ago.
Michenera artocreas. I'll write the name. Michenera artocreas.
Okay, thank you. I remember looking at it, and I couldn't find the name.
Because there is another one. Okay.
Awesome. I knew you guys would remember.
I love the spores. I did that before, so I remember the spores. They were huge.
Yeah, they're really bizarre, right?
Are those spores?
Those are the spores.
Conidiospores.
They're not conidia, right?
Yeah,
They're
conidia,
spores.
conidia spores.
Oh, they're conidia. Okay, so when this thing's in a different stage, does it have different kind of
Asexual
spores?
form. This is the asexual form, but now
Mhm.
they use the name of the sexual.
Oh, so they've just like lumped what they used to think were two different things, right?
It should
Mhm.
use only this
Mhm.
name. Yeah. It used to be called Leucostroma giganteum because of the size of the conidiospores.
Mhm.
All right. Great.
I just wanted to say about the microscope, it's using a light compound microscope. And so light has to be able to pass through the object that you put on the slide. So it has to be super, super thin, thin, thin for light to pass through the cells so that you can image it. So most people, beginners, they put too much on the slide. Anyway, what subject are we going to do next week, Luke?
Okay, so there were two suggestions. One was from Marisol. She said Lacaria and puffballs, and then you suggested coral fungi and chanterelles. So I don't know. Do you guys just want to? You want to just pick one of each out of each of yours and? What? So in case
I'm not even going to be on next week, but
okay.
those were just some topics.
Yeah.
Dorothy, but did you hear that is from our old collections?
What?
It's from our old collections.
I know, but I'm still going to be too busy.
Oh, I see.
I won't even be on next week.
Actually, let me ask. Yeah, let me even throw that out there. Do you guys want to do this next week? Next week is the 22nd, so it's 3 days before Christmas. Do you guys? I'm okay with getting together.
Me too.
Marisol?
Yeah, I'll come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll come on.
I have company for Christmas and I need to clean my house.
Okay.
We have to advertise it so people will join.
Okay, well then we'll meet then. And I don't. So what I was suggesting earlier, at the very beginning, before everyone came on, we were talking about what to do as it slows down. I expect next week we probably won't have enough mushrooms to fill 2 hours, but maybe we will. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking that maybe we would just pick some subjects, and we just open for suggestions. Marisol suggested Lacaria and puffballs for next week. And we can just go back through all of our observations for however, it doesn't have to be this year, and just find our best observations and show them off to each other and just, learn from there.
Mintari also suggested puffballs.
Puffballs, yes, puffballs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we can bring all our puffballs.
Okay, so let's do,
puffballs.
so let's plan on that. Let's plan on next week looking
Puffballs.
at just puffballs,
Oh, okay. Puffballs and what else?
Lacaria and puffballs.
Okay, yeah. Lacarians and
Lacaria,
puffballs. Okay, cool.
So we'll start out looking at whatever we found for the week, and then we'll let's just be ready with some Lacaria and some puffball species, and we'll look at them. How's that sound?
Sounds awesome.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, great
Okay,
night.
nice. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't forget this Friday's James Mitchell's lecture.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Oh, right.
Thanks.
Thank you for the link.
Okay, bye. Thanks.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.